Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy JT, and in today's video, we're going to talk about using the histogram scope in DaVinci Resolve. I want to welcome you back to the channel. We've got a good one again today, guys. So the histogram scope is probably one of my most favorite scopes. The main reason is because when I got my first camera, that was one of the things that I learned early on I could use to be able to kind of control my image. You know, there was a movie one time, I forgot what it was, but it was like somebody said, you know, trust your gauges or trust your instruments, something like that. And so one of the primary functions of the histogram, because it's read from left to right, is that as long as that graph is not punching up against that left wall, you good. As long as that graph is not punching up against the right side of that wall, you good. So if it's punching against the left side, it means you'll be clipping in shadows. I mean, that's where you get to the point of losing detail. If it's touching that wall on the right side, that's where you begin to lose detail and data in your highlights. And remember, the detail and data is pretty much those things that you would see at some of the whitest or lightest points of your scene, and also some of the darkest parts of your scene. So we're gonna look at a few examples in here today with some images that we've already, you know, gotten used to seeing on screen, so that way we'll keep it familiar. And I think I'm gonna actually put some of these out for you guys so you can be able to download them. They're Blackmagic 6K files. We've got some Canon files in there too, but since we shot them, I can do whatever I want to with them. So I'm gonna let you guys have them, so that way you can be able to use these to practice along in these further videos. So let's jump on over here to this histogram real quick. Okay guys, so we're back in DaVinci Resolve. This is a clip that we've been working on for a few of the other examples as well. So I'm gonna stay with this one. We did an exposure on here when I was showing you the waveform, so you can kind of see how this exposure, this happens to be the look that I like. So I typically go with what I like. Like I said in the last video, I mean, it's up to you. It's your art, it's your creation. So now looking at this, you can use the histogram right here. And this is the histogram. Again, like I said, you read it from left to right. 0 would be your shadow line clipping. The 1023 would be your 10-bit. And if you're using 8-bit, it's gonna still say 1023. This will be your highlight clipping line. So as long as you're not bunching up over here, you'll actually keep, you know, the information. So what I'm gonna do is, let me move this just a little bit, just because I'm kind of, you know, angle like that. All right, I'm one of those very particular Virgos. So we've got our exposure here, right? I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to use my gain control to start pushing this image more over here in the highlights. I'm going to bunch all these highlight information right over here against that wall. But here's something I want you to pay attention to, okay? You know what? As a matter of fact, instead of doing that, let's add a node and make the changes to that in case I want to use this again. So you can go either right click and you can go to add node and add serial node, or you can do option S. So I just did option S. I'm gonna go, and here's our node I just added. I'm gonna go ahead and, well, I got a shortcut key for the tab, but let's go to node label. I'm gonna say exposure 2. Okay. Now, so this is basically another exposure. Remember how I told you I like to do my different corrections on different nodes, and then I like to label them so that way I can go from one node to the next, to the next, to the next. Because see, now, once we finish doing all these changes using this exposure node right here, this one right here is still going to be good. I mean, you see what I'm saying? It's like, that's going to still be good. I can just delete that and I'll still have this. Or I can make changes to this one only. But this exposure node I'm using, it could be more of a testing node, okay? So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna use this one to show you some stuff. What I wanna do is, I wanna show you what the differences on the histogram is. Now, most cameras have a built-in histogram, okay? So when you're in the field and you go out there and you get ready to shoot, if you turn that histogram on right before you shoot, you'll be able to see the trace information. If you say, oh man, wait a minute, My image is dark. Pay attention to that histogram. If you say, wait a minute, this looks too bright, pay attention to that histogram on your camera. If you're in the field and you're shooting and your trace information is too far to the left, it means you're going to be losing some information. Okay, if it's too far to the right, you're going to be losing some information. So now let's look at a couple of things on here. Now this was a pretty bright day out. Okay, now, this was a pretty bright day outside this day, I remember. But again, I mean, I'm shooting on the Blackmagic, so I've got some room to do a lot of different things. I mean, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna freeze this exposure node, and so you can see literally that this was definitely a bright day here in Houston, Texas. When you look over here in this cloud area, you know, looking at the graph, we're approaching that 1023. Remember on our Ansel Adams chart that, you know, when you begin to get in this area here, you're getting ready to start clipping out, okay? But look back here. You see, you can actually see some of the clouds. That would be what we consider some of the details in the highlights, okay? Now, once I go in and I actually did an exposure, you see, you can still see some details in the clouds. So we know it's just not white paint back there, all right? That's what they mean a lot of times when they say the detail. It's what all can you see that's still actually relevant or realistic in this particular scene. So now I'm gonna come over here to this exposure node that we created. I'm gonna pull it right down here, just so every change we make, it'll only affect on, I mean, it'll only be on this node. We can turn it on and off if you want. But let's come over here and jack this exposure up in the highlights. So we're gonna increase our gain. I want you to pay attention to those clouds. And then also, don't forget, pay attention to this particular part of the histogram where you can see where that information is, okay? And then you can see that here, our blue channel, we've got that a little bit further up than our green and our red. So there's quite a bit you can actually do with this histogram. So we've got our red here. We're not on that wall per se, but we definitely have some room where we could be able to move up. But for right now, we're just going to use the highlight information. I mean the gain to make some adjustments. I'm going to come down here. Look at how that graph is moving. See how far away it's getting, and you can see even more of the clouds. And you know, it begins to get a little less. You begin to get a little less exposure in the cloud and the highlight area, which clearly is here, up on top. All right. Now, watch this. As we begin to push the gain up, those clouds are going to begin to disappear as close as you get to that wall. Look at that. Now it's just white. You see how that works? So that detail we were seeing, which is those clouds, are gone because we're here. We're almost on that 1023 line over there. And so the clouds have disappeared. That detail is gone. You just can't see it. That's what we mean when we say you're going to be clipping in your highlights. That detail is gone now, okay? But, and here's a difference. Let's freeze and unfreeze this node. You see that? You see how you can see those clouds now? You know that there's clouds. It is a real sky. But now it's gone. Okay. So let's pull that back. Let's pull that back. Just gonna reset. Remember I told you can't break it. Okay. So now let's do the same thing for our lift. That way we can kind of go over here and clip in our shadow area and let you see. So I'm gonna raise it up. I'm going to increase it. You see, the further away from that wall it gets, that means the more information you'll still have. But if it doesn't have the look you want, then you've got to go the other way. You can also see here that this is kind of the bottom part of our shadows. If this was a waveform, then, you know, this is what you would see right here. You know, if this is a waveform, you see this, you say, okay, I have more space to move here in my shadows now because I can, you know, lower my lift some and I can, you know, just bring a little more shadow in without being able to clip out. And then you see here, this is more of your mid-tone area here. But you see, again, we're not fully balanced. You know, there's more red in here. And so watch this. I can even come in here and begin to take some red out. I'm just going to pull down on this and watch what happens. You see that? The green went up. Let's make an adjustment there. The same thing, you can do with your blue. You can either pull it in, pull it out. So, this is kind of how you use this thing. Let me reset that. Now, let's go ahead and clip it out. Okay, I'm pushing. You see how now, look at this shirt. It looks like black raster image because there is no more information. You just can't see. You can't see those wrinkles in this shirt. I don't care how far you zoom in. That's what we mean by details. We clearly know that there's going to be some natural wrinkles in this t-shirt, but that's what it is. So now watch this. We're going to pull that detail back by coming out of clip world, just by raising those shadows, well, not the shadows, raising the lift a little more. So watch this. As we begin to come out, those wrinkles in the shirt are going to begin to come back in. See that? Look at that. You can begin to see those wrinkles. This is what we're trying to do. We want to be balanced. We want to be properly exposed. We can continue on, being creative with our image. So if you're clipping everywhere, and you don't have enough, information and detail, you might as well be working with a cell phone. Okay, you see that? Look at that. The further out we come, the more detail in that shirt we see, and then we can really begin to see more if we increase our shadows level. Look at this. Even more. You can always come in and begin to get that look by adding more contrast and also make it being, properly color balanced. So that's what we mean by, details. And now we can see those wrinkles and those imperfections in the shirt because the detail is back. We're back properly exposed again. So now, another thing that I want you to see is using this histogram. Well, I'll tell you what, let me do this. You can also be able to come in and see your chroma levels. Where are we at? Go to YRGB, you see your Y values. And now we've got a Y. And we've got our Y, we've got our R, we've got our G, and our B. Okay, so you see here for each one of these, here's your Y here. Okay, now let's play around with this just a bit. Okay, let's do a little balancing act on here. So in our highlights, we've got our reds. We could be able to push over here till we can kind of align these peaks together. Okay, let's do that first. All right, we've got that one kind of lined up. Let's do the same thing on our blue. Let me see here. Okay, now, so all those are pretty much lined up, right? And we've got a nice little mix match here. All right, so let me see. First, I'll bring my red down some of the shadows. See how the image begins to change. But look at how much information you have here in your greens and your blues. But we are beginning to line up. So I can clearly see that there's a lot of accumulation here, much more so than here and here, right? And let me see here. Let's do something here in our green, in our mid-tones. There we go. All right. Now look at where the red is. See, the information in the red channel is a lot. When you look at this 384 line, look at how high that is from the actual on the actual graph in relation to where it is on the green and the blue. So we could stand to add some blue in the mid-tones and then also come down just a tad in the green. And this is that push and pull, that balancing act. So again, you can't break it. You can always reset it, but play around with these until either you get it correct or you get it your correct. I like to go for my correct because guess what? I'm the one behind the camera. The look is what I give to it. So here we go. I'm adjusting some on this blue, the blue channel. You see how that begins to happen? Let me turn off my Y. Go back to RGB. Yeah, there we go. All right, so now red, let's come in some here. Man, like I said, you can have total control over this thing. You really can. And we're getting a much more realistic look now. And it's a push and pull because every time you make a change to one, it also impacts the other. Okay, we add a little more red here. Okay, let's kind of see how it's coming down a little, taking some more blue out. I'm liking it, but that also kind of introduces more green back into it. That's what I don't want to do. So I'm kind of, and you can barely see what I'm doing because as far as on the dials, we're messing with the parameters on the different dials because we're just on the computer. And I can try to keep, circling my mouse so you can see where I'm at. So just, guys, if you get to a point in the video and you say, hey, I can't see anything, then let me know. That's actually the reason why, because I've already shot this video, right? But when I was looking at it, I was like, man, I'm talking, but nothing is changing. Well, on the streaming software that I'm using, when I actually pop that scope window out, it's not showing up on the stream. So it shows up here, but see, this button right here will allow you to maximize, or you see how the word expand popped up, and then it's nice and large over here, but for whatever reason, it's not working with it. So I'm redoing this, okay, guys? But here we go. Let me see. Let's come back down here. I'm gonna say some in my red again, in my mid-tones. Let's kind of see. Kind of remove some of that. Not a lot. Like I said, it's barely moving, but I can see it moving. That brought in some more green, so let's kind of move this down as well. Okay. Now, I'm gonna come back up here to this exposure. I'm gonna make some changes on that. Am I on editable spleens? I am. Okay. Here we go. See, when you do editable spleens, instead of moving in a linear sense, you move in a curved sense. So you're able to do quite a bit more still. There we go. So I'm pulling over and raising up. So that's affecting not only my exposure, but also some of my contrast, because there's just going to be a definite difference. But now you see here, my whites, my cloud detail, I'm losing it. But I have two different exposures. So I'm pretty sure if I come in here and I adjust that, yeah, I see that cloud details coming back in there. But for the purpose of just kind of showing you what this is, I want to show you how you can when you make these adjustments and you have nodes that are labeled, you get a lot of controls. I'm going to come in here now. Let's bring this down just a tad. Yeah. There we go. See, begin to see even more. All right, go on here. You see how now we bunched up against that, so we lost the detail in this shirt. See, so this, again, it's not that it's crazy difficult, but sometimes, and I'm pulling over, pulling down, but we're losing the detail in this shirt, right? But then when I come back over and start increasing it again, we get the detail in this shirt again, all right? Now, when you look at that graph, you see what it is. That information, that trace information in the shadows is moving away from this line. So that gives us more to play with. All right. So guys, this is how you use the histogram. So guys, this is how you use the histogram. You read it from left to right or right to left, either way, but you're reading it, horizontally as opposed to up and down. Now, there are some parts of the trace where you can kind of use it to evaluate where the accumulation is as far as the pixel information, or the information of pixel and light within your image. But just know, if the further you get over to that wall, that means you'll be clipping in shadows. The further you get over to the right wall, then you'll be clipping in the highlights. As long as you are not bumping heads up against either one of those walls, you'll have room to be able to move around, push and pull to improve your image. If you want to be able to recover a little more shadow detail, you've got to have enough space in order to do so. And that's where I'm going to say, the quality of the camera will have an impact on your overall image. But what I'll also say is, if you've got a camera where, your dynamic range may not be as high as some of these other newer cameras, then just introduce more light to those areas. Bring in some black cloth. If you need to, if you know that you're shooting over here and your shadows are going to be black, add some light. It's not a hard deal. And don't feel like if you look different because you have a little light, that's going to make you wrong. It doesn't. It'll help you to improve your images. That's what this whole thing is about. So I want to help you to cut out some of that gray area to give you some common sense results that will allow you to be able to get the images that you want. And, I mean, look, when we're editing, we pretty much edit what we get. And so if there are things that you can be able to do on the actual shoots, that's what's going to take your images to the next level. So, guys, look, hopefully this video has brought some added value to you and your content creation. If you're new here, I want to say welcome to the community. We're growing. We were just at 500 finally. I'm gonna say a couple of weeks ago. And man, I've been having a ball. There's a lot of stuff that I want to get out, and I think because I think I can just help out a lot of people. And there's a lot of things that I do today that I definitely didn't know that I could have done when I first started. And so those are the things that I'm sharing. It's like a lot of these things, people think it's a common sense thing, and sometimes it's not. There's some ways for you to not only be able to kind of cut the learning curve down, but also to be able to save a few bucks. so guys, look, if you are new here, please consider subscribing. We'd love to have you as part of the community. Drop a comment. Let us know how we can come check out some of your work. If you are interested in getting some of these files that I have, let me know. And I'll put a link out there. I won't put it out there if nobody says it, but if you are interested, let me know, and I'll put a link out there so that way you can be able to grab some of these files. They're nice quality files, and you can go in and play with them and make as many mistakes and corrections and creative decisions that you want to. So look, again, I want to thank you for coming to the channel. Thank you for clicking on this particular link, and we're gonna see you in the next one.